You know that voice in your head, the one that never shuts up? One study published in 1990 analyzed people's rate of inner speech and clocked it at roughly 4,000 words per minute. To say those same words out loud would take close to an hour. Think about that. If someone stood next to you and spoke 4,000 words per minute into your ear, you'd go crazy. So why do you let that happen inside your head every day without ever questioning it? Now, let's be fair. The inner voice isn't all bad. It helps us tell stories of the past so we can learn from them. It helps us plan for the future and think through what's coming next. It's fast, efficient, sharp. It can generate thoughts almost as quickly as today's automation tools, but it becomes a problem the moment it turns against you. Because when that voice becomes your enemy, it traps you in loops of negative thinking, racing through irrelevant, unsolvable problems, and dragging you down with them. Sometimes we get so used to it, we forget it's even happening. We blend ourselves with the voice. But here's the question. If that voice is the one attacking you, what weapons do you have left to fight back? Our inner voices shape us more than we realize. They help us build identity through introspection and reflection, the way we explain our lives to ourselves. And that identity becomes the anchor that holds us steady when life gets turbulent. But when the voice turns toxic, even that anchor starts to slip. So today, we're going to talk about that voice, what it is, what it does, and how to stop letting it run your life. Let's start here. Your inner voice is not harmless background noise. When it turns against you, it chips away at everything: your health, your confidence, your relationships, and your ability to make decisions. So let's talk about the actual cost of letting it run unchecked. 1. It wrecks your mental health. You can't heal if the injury is coming from inside. The more negatively you speak to yourself, the easier it becomes to fall into chronic stress, anxiety, and eventually, burnout. The kind where your own mind feels like an unsafe place to be. And here's the trap. The worse you feel, the harsher you talk to yourself. The harsher you talk, the worse you feel. It loops. People think mental health gets destroyed by what happens on the outside: work, pressure, social media. But often, the destruction begins with one small internal voice whispering, "2." It trains you to reject yourself, Sal. You ever stop yourself from trying, not because someone told you no, but because you did. That's what happens when your inner voice keeps saying, "Don't embarrass yourself. Don't get it wrong. Don't be that person." You pre-reject every dream, every idea, every move forward, so the world never even gets a chance to. The worst part is, it feels like you're avoiding danger, but really, you're just keeping yourself small. Self-criticism disguised as humility is one of the most self-sabotaging habits we have, and it trains your brain to flinch every time you reach for something that matters. You're not protecting yourself. You're just reinforcing the idea that you're not allowed to take up space. 3. It destroys your clarity. Have you ever tried to solve a problem while your brain was screaming? It doesn't work. Your thoughts start overlapping. Every solution turns into a reason you'll fail. You overanalyze every word you said, every move you didn't make, and soon, even simple choices feel paralyzing. The mind can't generate clarity when it's stuck in survival mode. That voice, it clouds your logic. It warps your sense of proportion. Tiny problems feel massive. Obvious solutions feel impossible, because if your mind has already decided you're doomed either way, why even bother? 4. It leaks into your relationships. You might think you're just hard on yourself, but that kind of energy doesn't stay contained. People who constantly blame or criticize themselves often pull others into their shame loops. It shows up in weird, subtle ways. You get defensive even when no one's attacking you. You assume people are mad at you when they're just tired. 5. It makes you accept what you'd never tolerate from others. Think about this one carefully. If someone else talked to you the way you talk to yourself on your worst days, would you stand there and take it? Of course not. If a coworker called you a failure, if a stranger said you ruin everything, if a friend told you you're not good enough every time you tried something new, you'd walk away. You'd block their number. You'd call it emotional abuse. But when the voice comes from inside your head, you let it slide. You excuse it as truth. You treat it like reality. That's not self-awareness. That's internalized cruelty. And the longer you accept it, the harder it becomes to believe in any other version of yourself. If any of that felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. And hey, if this kind of honest content helps you, hit subscribe. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to start untangling from that voice and what to do when your thoughts turn on you. 1. Give it space. The first step isn't to fight the voice, it's to recognize it's not you. We don't usually say, a thought popped up. We say, I'm so stupid. We don't see it as a voice, we see it as truth. So how do you actually start making space? For me, it began with imagining the thought as a person in the room. Like, what if someone else stood next to you and said those same words out loud? Would you just accept it, or would you talk back? Other times, I'd picture the moment like a video clip on my phone, like I was just watching something that already happened, not reliving it from inside. And here's one that sounds weird, but works. I gave the voice a name. Mine's called Janice. She's dramatic, always overreacting. Naming it made it feel separate, and honestly, kind of ridiculous. You can also try switching the way you speak to yourself. Instead of, why did I do that? Say, why did you do that? It creates just enough distance to lower the heat. And when things feel overwhelming, zoom out. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. Would this still matter? You're not erasing the voice, you're just stepping far enough back to see that it's not the whole picture. That alone changes everything. 2. Expressive journaling. There are a few things that make the negative inner voice especially dangerous. First, it's incredibly fast. So fast that we often don't even realize what it's saying. The thoughts appear, hit us emotionally, then vanish before we can even catch them. Second, because of that speed, we can't follow them. We can't slow them down enough to track what's really going on inside our own head. All we feel is the impact, the tension, the self-doubt, the anxiety, but we don't always know what thoughts caused it. Third, we almost never get a real, clear moment to talk back. The voice speaks, we react, but we rarely pause long enough to respond. That's where writing helps. Writing forces your thoughts to slow down because you have to pass them through your hands. You hear the sentence in your mind, then you write it out, and in doing so, your pace drops. You give yourself a few extra seconds to really feel what you're thinking, instead of just being swept up in it. Writing also gives you distance. Once the words are on the page, you're no longer holding everything in your head. You can look at what you've written and start to track it. See where it repeats, where it spirals, where it doesn't even make sense. And most importantly, once everything is laid out in front of you, you finally have the chance to speak back. You can question it. You can ask what's behind it. You can remind yourself of what you believe. But even though writing helps, many people still avoid it. And that's understandable. Because sometimes what comes out on the page feels uncomfortable. You might feel embarrassed or even ashamed of what you wrote. It's not easy seeing your own negative thoughts written down so clearly, in a way you can't ignore. But don't worry, that doesn't mean anything wrong with you. You're just being honest. Find a quiet, private space. Keep it safe. Keep it just for you. And above all, don't judge yourself for what you write. Some people also struggle to focus when their thoughts are racing. They say, I want to journal, but my mind's too fast. I get that. If that's you, try turning the volume up a little. Don't think in full sentences. Think one word at a time. Slow down your pace, even if it feels awkward at first. 3. Positive affirmation. Positive affirmation should be something you do often. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you're in pain. You do it so things don't fall apart. Same with your mind. When the inner voice is loud, harsh, and constant, you need something else in the room. You need a voice that says, you're not broken. You're allowed to try. You can be struggling and still be worthy. These phrases don't have to be dramatic. They just have to be steady. Because the negative voice shows up automatically. The positive one, you have to build it, word by word. Sometimes people avoid positive affirmations not because they don't need them, but because they're afraid of sounding too confident. Saying things like, I've got this, or I'm good at this feels too much, too fake, too bold. Especially when, deep down, a part of you isn't sure you are that good, or worries that you'll fail right after saying it. But here's what affirmation is not. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's not about forcing yourself to be confident or shouting over your fear. So what's it actually for? First, to calm yourself down. When your thoughts are racing, when everything feels like too much, a small, steady phrase can slow the storm. Second, to cheer yourself on. Because sometimes no one else is watching, no one's clapping, no one's saying, you've got this. And in those moments, You need to be the one who does. 4. Let the outside world in. Not all attention works the same way. When you're solving problems, working, replying, switching tabs, that's what they call voluntary attention. It takes effort. It burns mental fuel. And after a while, it leaves you foggy, tired, and weirdly irritable without knowing why. But there's another kind, involuntary attention. It's the kind that just pulls you in, without force, without pressure, like watching sunlight move across a wall, like hearing birds outside while you're still in bed, like a child laughing in the background. That kind of attention, the effortless kind, actually restores your nervous system. It gives your mind a chance to breathe without needing to do anything. That's why being in nature helps. 5. Mindfulness meditation. At first, I thought meditation was something distant and a little intimidating, like you needed to be calm and wise before you even tried it. Otherwise, you were doing it wrong. I had this vague image in my head of someone sitting still for hours, eyes closed, mind clear, deeply enlightened, and I was like, yeah, that's not me. But then one day, I just sat down, didn't open an app, didn't light a candle, just sat there for 2 minutes and tried to follow my breath. That was it. No goal, no pressure to feel anything special, and somehow, that was the first time it worked. I just noticed my thoughts, watched them pass, realized I didn't have to chase any of them. And in that tiny space between one breath and the next, things got quieter. I still don't know how to convince someone to meditate. I can't list out the benefits like building new neurons or rewiring your brain, even though those things are probably true. But I can say this, it's easier than it sounds. Even in its simplest form, no music, no apps, no spiritual glow, it's still helpful. It gives you just enough space to stop following every single thought as if it's the truth. If any part of this stayed with you, you can subscribe, only if you want more of this kind of quiet work. Take what you need, and I'll see you in the next one.